Nothing can stop our march.
Yo, it's Mini TV here coming at you again with one more video. Today we have a hero that I've been wanting to do for a while but just haven't had the time to do it. But today I think it's a good time to do it because we have Bokuvel Major obviously going on right now, and the hero is seeing a lot of play actually. So the hero that I wanted to show today is PL. The hero is back to its old self, Cancer Lancer, the hero of Cancer. So many of him, and if you pick it in the right game, you play it correctly, the hero is basically unstoppable. So I got the game for you. Let's get to it. So guys, this is the game. I ended up picking PL because they ended up showing Dro Ranger, PL being probably one of the strongest counters to Dro at the moment, because you just can't deal with her, simply. And I think they ended up, because I think we ended up having first pick, so they had, oh no, I think we ended up having last pick. But so they showed Dro, Disruptor, and Chikiro, and then they ended up picking Legion and Jaro to deal with my PL after I'd picked it. I only mentioned the drafting stage because, particularly on some carry heroes, and PL being definitely one of them, is that it's really important to know like when it's okay to pick PL and when it's not. And then obviously from that you can kind of itemize from the game. But obviously once they have shown their carry hero to be Drow, like PL was always going to be a good game. Obviously they follow up with good heroes against PL, like Legion and Jaro, a lot of AoE, and obviously if Legion can catch me in a duel, I'm going to die. So decent kind of response to them. And just want to make it off from this first point. This was by far not like a perfect PL game for me. I made a lot of mistakes this game, but I just wanted to show you it so I can talk to you about it, and hopefully you'll learn something from it. So to start off with, in terms of just item build, first of all, I don't want to obviously man up against Legion and Disruptor. Quite a strong lane from them, so I'm just going to trade the runes to begin with, and don't be afraid to trade runes. As long as you get one on your side of the map, that's fine. As for item build, most melee carries are doing exactly the same build, whether you play anti-mage or PA or whoever. You kind of go 2 tangos, 1 salve, 1 quilling blade, and then max iron brood branches just to kind of fill out your inventory. A lot of value. I mean, PL has already kind of decent stats and good starting base damage. So like, we don't have the strongest lane really. We don't have a lot of kill threat. Obviously Warlock being more of a defensive sort of support, really just wants to spam out with Shadow Word. He's maxed mangoes as well, so I'm just looking to try and CS as best as I can here. But Legion as well is pretty decent laner as well. He has high base stats as well. Obviously, like, if your supports are kind of going at it, like, don't be afraid to kind of try and help them out with spells like Spirit Lance. Like, you don't really use a lot of mana on PL, particularly in the later stage, because you normally max Phantom Rush, so using a couple of Spirit Lances early on to kind of have some dominance in the lane is always fine. So I get pressured in this lane quite a lot actually, and I don't really want to trade too much with Legion Commander. Obviously he's got Ring of Protection as well, so he's kind of like pretty tanky, and when he gets level 2 and gets Moment of Courage, I'm going to struggle really to box him out. So I'm just going to try and CS as best as I can and trade with him. Even though I don't do a fantastic job, as I've said, particularly in the lane, but there's a few mistakes I made in this game, but hopefully we can learn something from it regardless. So yeah, pretty standard stuff really. Like, obviously if I see the ability to help out with the Warlock trading with a Disruptor, I'm going to try and help him out with a Spirit Lance, but for the most part I'm just going to try and CS as best as I can, using obviously aggro tricks by like pulling the creeps closer to myself by right-clicking the Legion Commander, and things like that. When I get like level 3 in this lane and I get like 2 points of Phantom Rush, I'm going to try and abuse that as much as I can. And like, you'll see it as well later when I start jungling as well, how you can kind of abuse the Phantom Rush by, you don't really have to be like that much of a distance away to kind of get the bonus. So you can like right click a little bit away and then right click either on the Legion or on the creep you want to get. But as you see here, I'm taking a lot of damage, and that's just kind of the strength of Legion. Perhaps I could have got maybe a level 2 or level 1 in doppelganger at level 3, as you saw myself getting cancelled out by the Legion there. Just to, if Disruptor does end up using Thunderstrike on me, I can obviously instantly dispel it. But I end up going 3 points in Phantom Rush, and I end up getting a Thunderstrike tier that I wish I had doppelganger too. But yeah, just going back to the Phantom Rush kind of trick, you can only Phantom Rush if there's like a bit of distance between you and the creep. So this is the point about the doppelganger here. So what you can do is like kind of right click just a little bit away and then right click on the individual target you want, and then you'll always get Phantom Rush, and you can do this while jungling as well. And it makes a big difference because, you know, 22 bonus agility for a few seconds or two can make a big difference when trying to secure CS or like having better, you know, armor when they're right clicking you, for example. But pretty standard stuff really. Like there's not much really I can do in this lane outside of kind of just farm the best I can, although I am getting out CS quite heavily by the Legion because I've got kind of Warlock in my lane and he just wants to kind of just play passive, and so do I really. For the most part in this game and in most games really when you play PL, is unless you have like a lane that you can actually dominate and win, you kind of just want to get your level 6 and run to the jungle and then farm the jungle out and then come out and push out the lane with like max points in Phantom Rush. Because, you know, 44 agility is really, really strong, and obviously the Phantom Rush, you can be using that when you're jungling as well, so it just kind of speeds up your jungle process. As for items here, pretty standard stuff like Magic Wand, gonna go double Wraith Band when I get these kind of items. It's gonna help me jungle and helps me sort of stay in lane even more, for example. Yeah, it's kind of simple. Like sometimes you know when you play Phantom Lancer like how strong you are in comparison to the other heroes, but the lane I'm faced against is pretty strong really. So there's not much I can do to really kind of segment my dominance and control in this lane. So I'm more than happy just to try and not die in this lane before I hit level 6, and then go to jungle when I feel too threatened to deal with it. There's the doppelganger dodge on the Thunderstrike eventually. But with Warlock dying and not having a TP, I'm kind of feeling a little bit unsafe. So I'm just trying to get as much CS as I can without taking too much harassment, because there's always Phase Boots already up on the Legion, so he's very strong. Rotation from Pudge though, which is pretty nice, allows us to get like 1 kill and allows me to get level 6 as well without, you know, dying. They come and try and find the Legion here, but I'm just happy just to kind of push out this wave as fast as I can before my team leaves again. Pudge is still staying in the area, so I'm more than happy to sit in lane, but I am level 6 now, and when I do that I can start manning up on the Legion, and that's why I do that. But Pudge misses hook. Oh no, he hits hook, but he's still really, really fast, and I can't end up killing him, so I just end up leaving them to chase after this. We chase a little bit too heavy and you'll sort of see the strength of Legion, and I end up kind of just getting out and TPing because I realise I'm kind of wasting a lot of time. I should just be farming really, because we don't have the damage to kill Legion, and that's what I do. And immediately as I see the Jakiro TPing, I try and think to myself, obviously there's going to be like eventually 3 people up in this lane, so I'll push this lane out as fast as possible and then go straight to the jungle, because I don't really want to contest at all this early on. Like Phantom Lancer, yes, he can be quite strong in the lane if you're against a weak offlaner, but a strong hero like Legion, there's no point to try and contest it, particularly not if there's 3 heroes you're playing against. It's better if you just kind of secure your farm and go straight to the jungle. So that's what I do. I try and push out this lane as quickly as possible while they're trying to catch the Warlock, because eventually, because Chikiro's TB top, it's most likely that he's going to come and sit top as well. I try and get a bit greedy and kill that range troop, but yeah, I don't get punished even though Legion at level 6. And here's the Jakiro. As he's TP top, there's no way he's going to come bot. So I have one of 2 options. Either I can TP bot or go to the jungle, but seeing as I TP top already, I don't have a TP to go bot, so I have to just be forced to go to the jungle because I can't contest 3v1. So the best thing I can do is just jungle in the meantime. But I've got kind of all the items I need to jungle. Obviously got my treads, double Wraith, and small thing when you're jungling as well, it's really important. So not only is it important to obviously get the benefit of the Phantom Rush when you are jungling, but to also let your illusions tank. Obviously you don't really want to buy any kind of life regen or life steal on Phantom Lancer. You just want to be rushing straight for the stats, like, you know, Yasha or Diffusal Blade. So you need to be careful whenever you are jungling not to take too much damage that you feel the need to obviously have life steal and stuff. Warlock's kind of dying, but I'm just pushing out a lane. I'm going to be able to get the outpost as a result of it. So actually not a bad play and a lot of bad death for the Warlock there. I was going to TP in again, but they didn't end up catching anyone, so I just trying to focus on farming as much as possible. So luckily I don't get glimpse, or so I can survive that. So yeah, so obviously whenever you're jungling, just kind of what you can do is kind of micro your hero back a little bit, just so that you're illusions are killing them. So there's a few things when you're jungling with PL to remember. Firstly, when you're jungling, and your illusion spawn, make sure you step back a step or two, so that your illusions are tanking, because obviously the illusions are going to die eventually, so it's more important that they're the ones that are taking the damage. Secondly, doing what I just did here, where your illusions, there's enough illusions to kill their camp, and then you can move on to the next one. It's just a small efficiency play that makes a big difference overall. And secondly, is trying to abuse the whole Phantom Rush trick, where you can kind of run out a little bit and get it, particularly on the camps that are like, a little bit longer in dying. And don't get stunned like that as well. It's not particularly great. But yeah, it's pretty simple really. Like I said, just sort of hitting up the jungle. Like I don't want to be sort of standing top in lane. The only other options I could be really doing is playing bot, seeing as the tower's been taken already. But seeing as Jaro's already there and our lanes are in kind of decent positions, I'm happy to farm my own jungle for now. But I eventually will be looking to stay bot and go bot, because that's the lane I want to be in. Seeing as that I've talked to it before, but. In my Tro video when I was playing carry, but for the enemy's objectives and the thing the enemy team want to do is take my tier 1 safe lane tower. So, but they also want to kill me because obviously I'm probably the highest net worth on my team. I'm the highest net worth in the game as well. So, two important objectives for them is to kill me and to kill the tier 1 tower. If I stay top, they can do both of those in one movement. Whereas if I start playing on the opposite side of the map, then they can either take my tier 1, or they can kill me if they like smoke gank on me. But I'm going to make sure that I'm in a position that they can't do both. And in some ways, me jungling is also that kind of movement as well. So I start running down bot and wanting to play bot, so then it allows my Pudge and my other heroes to play top as 4. Because PL is one of those heroes that if you can get your core items on and there's a good game for it, the hero can carry and completely dominate by itself. So it's really important that you're taking if you are taking fights, you're joining the fights that you definitely can win. And if you're not joining these fights because you can't win, then you're just farming to accelerate as fast as you can. So I end up going Yasha before Diffusal. I know a lot of people rush Diffusal before Yasha, but because I sort of said to myself, and I looked in this game who I was playing against, like they have a lot of AoE and a lot of kind of spill damage that can go ahead and end up killing me if I join a team fight. So I've decided that the best thing for me to do is actually rush Yasha, which will help me farm faster than Diffusal Blade. And as I'm not participating in team fights, I don't need Diffusal just yet. So I go Yasha first and then Diffusal, knowing that Yasha will help me farm faster. But obviously I will be going Diffusal afterwards, but getting Yasha will help me farm faster because of the movement speed in general. But again, as you see, I'm sort of farming down bot. Pudge misses his hook, and well, yeah, that's that really. But this is the kind of the important thing, that this rotation of me kind of playing bot is important. So because I'm in this area, although we don't even get this kill on Drow, it instantly forced 2 TPs out. The Legion TP'd, and I think so did the Jakiro as well. And now they don't really have any kind of pressure top lane or mid. And as long as I can survive here, I've just essentially wasted minutes of their time. So as long as I can get out here, it's going to be a really good rotation for me overall. So I end up TPing back, going to the places where I know they can't be. Obviously, I saw 4 bot with this ward and the TP, and I instantly rotate to somewhere else that they can't be. So the only kind of play they can now make really is try and push this tier 1 tower bot, which isn't really that important for the tower. Which again gives me more and more time to farm the jungle and push out waves. So like PL is one of those heroes that you want to the safest way that you can ensure your farm is by pushing out lanes and then going jungle. Because if the lanes are pushed out, there's no way they can smoke gank you into the jungle. And obviously, like I said before, if I'm the highest farm person in this game late game, then I'm going to be able to carry and out-carry everyone on the enemy team. So, in terms of talent trees, level 10 talents, I normally always go for 20% evasion. Ever since they buffed it, it was a massive kind of buff. If you think about it, like 20% evasion versus, I mean, the one way thing, as I see a fight breaking out top, it's always important to kind of look at any kind of team fights, seeing whether you can join or not, because if you can join and it will help turn the tide without you dying, then you should always join it. But if not, you should be pushing lanes or doing something else useful for your team. But just going quickly over the talents. I think a good way to look about and think about talents is what is the value cost if you had to buy it. So obviously in this case, 20 attack speed is a gloves of haste, yeah, so that's 400 gold. As for the 20% evasion, I mean, talisman of evasion is 1400 gold and it's only 15% evasion. So just from that, you can tell that this 20% evasion is very, very good and very, very value. For the immediate farming speed, obviously the attack speed is quicker, but overall evasion is better in the long haul, and I always go for the evasion now that they changed that and buffed it. I try and think about maybe trying to get involved. And so I walk over, but seeing as everyone's dead, there's no point me trying to go. And I could have maybe got for this kill on the gyro with a lance, but I was probably playing a bit too passive, and I didn't want to die. So I was like, look, I just end up deciding not to join the team fight. I've got my Yasha now, and I'm thinking whether I should go straight Manta or Diffusal Blade, following the sort of same lines of if I'm not joining team fights, do I need Diffusal anyway? Maybe Manta will help me survive a gank if they go on me, and again, it will just kind of increase my fighting speed. But you'll see that my team are kind of continually fighting, and that the enemy team are forcing these engagements, that I end up feeling the need to go Diffusal Blade before Manta, and needing to kind of help out in these fights. So I end up going Diffusal Blade. Again, though, playing kind of the bottom half of the map, allowing my team to make kind of plays elsewhere. Unfortunately, all the plays they're making are really not working out. As you see, we're 17 kills to 6. But because of kind of my farming rotation and where I'm playing on the map, we're not even that far behind. Like 2k gold down, considering actually how far kills down we are, makes a big difference. Nice little doppelganger dodge here. Again, just kind of trying to be a nuisance and kind of forcing the enemy team to kind of address me by playing in this part of the map. But also in terms of skill build as well, again, because I'm fighting mainly and kind of pushing up waves and trying to be a bit of a nuisance. Max over Doppelganger over the Max Spirit Lance is more useful. Obviously, the cooldown is a lot less, so I can use it if I'm needing to get out of ganks or get out of scenarios like bottom. I take loads of damage from that ancient camp actually, and kind of pay the price as a result of it. And kind of this is kind of my first biggest mistake in this whole game actually. So not only was me taking a lot of damage from the ancient camp bad, because if there was an engagement, which there's going to bottom, I'm now really low. And you know, when you're in these kind of decisions where you're like, oh, should I fight, should I not? You know, small misplays like this, me taking so much damage from the ancient camp when I probably shouldn't have been farming it, kind of adds up. Because if I had full HP, full mana, maybe I could have been a bit more useful in this team fight. And arguably, I probably shouldn't have been here in the first place, really. I should be maybe where the Tiny is, and Tiny should be where I am, kind of swapping positions. But regardless, though, we see Legion TPing out, and we decide to try and go on them, even though we are only as 3. Puck does TP in eventually, but already I'm kind of low HP. And we're committing and diving for this kill. And whenever you're committing and diving heavily, normally something bad happens, and as a result we sort of see just the gyro at the last minute. I kind of choke here. I do dodge the initial ice path. I run back into the gyro, kind of start choking and take too much damage and die. So that obviously really bad death from me, but probably shouldn't have maybe been in this engagement in the first place, because I said to you before, if I'm the highest farmed hero in this game, I'm going to outcarry everyone. But small misplay from myself there, but probably shouldn't have been in the team fight in the first place. Because in some ways, when you play PL, like if you can get to the late game unencumbered, you're okay with it. So you have to kind of play PL almost like an anti-mage, in terms of if the enemy team starts grouping up before you're ready and before you have the items you want, so before you fight, you need to be pushing elsewhere and finding farm outside of where everyone else is on the map. So bad mistake from there, but as my team, like this is the point where it's also when my team starts sort of flaming and like getting annoyed and stuff, and so kind of the best way to kind of boost morale is by taking team fights and hoping to win them. So that's where I start building into Diffusal Blade, even though it was maybe a bit earlier than I would have liked to have joined team fights, but it needed to happen regardless. So again, like because lanes are in a pretty good position, I'm more than happy to farm jungle. Just keep that in mind. Like, you shouldn't be farming jungle if your lanes are in a bad position. Like, so say top was right, you know, hitting onto our tier 2 tower, and this lane was pushing bot into our tier 1. Like, you need to be doing something about it. But seeing as our lanes are in an okay position, I'm more than okay for me to farm the jungle. So let's fast forward here. I get a Van Brace, which is like a really nice item on PL. I mean, the Van Brace itself isn't the greatest of items, really. I mean, it's exactly the same as stats of just 2 Wraith Bands, but it's in the item slot of 1. But considering I already had PMS and I had my Yasha building into my Diffusal Blade, it was a nice pickup. So again, like my team, I'm keeping an eye on whether I should TP over, and the moment that they overcommit, I decide to TP in. So hook from Pudge, and I know that we can win this fight, and we do. So, and though that kind of team fight is so much different from the one that we engaged in bottom, obviously they were diving us in comparison to us diving them, and obviously I had a place to TP2 instead of being in the fight to start with, and having that kind of slight difference makes all the difference when it comes to team fights. But still, though, we're losing kind of this game kind of heavily now. Like, obviously, it's 5k net worth down. Drell's starting to hit towers and start grouping up with his team, and I'm still not at really the place where I feel kind of comfortable to take team fights. I'm closing in. I've finished my diffuser now. I'm closing in on mana. But you have to kind of ask yourself, is there any other items other than that as well? Like, normally PL kind of hits the timing after Diffusal and Manta, and then one other item, whether that be Abyssal, Heart, BKB, whatever that is. When he gets those 3 items, then normally he's incredibly strong. But before that, he is very susceptible in just dying and just sort of keeling over in the team fights. And in this game in particular, I decide that I kind of need a BKB, even though I really do want an Abyssal Blade, because if I can get an Abyssal Blade, I can sit on this Trow and she can be useless. But the problem is, obviously they have so much AoE kind of damage that even if I had Heart, my illusions would be dying anyway, as well as myself. So I end up kind of realizing that I need a BKB, just so I can kind of participate in these team fights, and that's what I end up doing after I get the mana. Just quickly going over the level 15 talents. As for the level 15 one, I think it's pretty cookie cutter. I think the 275 health is so necessary for PL. You're kind of squishy in general, and obviously that the health bonus helps towards your illusions as well. It's really important that you get that. The 125 Spirit Lance damage, I guess it's kind of nice. I think it used to be better when the old Ags used to shoot out like all the Spirit Lances, because that's when it was quite a value, but now the Ags is different, and that talent is nowhere near as good as it used to be. And the 125 health is just far superior. So, skip through this pause. So obviously they have Aegis now, and so the kind of the call I'm making for my team is that wait for them to push high ground, and then we'll try and fight. There's no point us. I mean, we know that they're going to end up forcing high ground eventually, because they know that I'm going to be the strongest hero at the end of this game if I have like top net worth. So they're going to eventually try and push their advantage, and when that happens, we have Puck, we have Warlock, we have Pudge as well with Hook. Like this scenario here, like we have really good high ground defense. So as long as we don't get caught out outside of base, then things will go well. And I was sort of communicating to my team that just sort of stay high ground, and if this Pudge hits this Hook, I'm going to end up TPing back. And they end up diving, committing, and so I end up coming over and trying to force in a fight straight away. Unfortunately, again, you're kind of showing the weakness of my hero. I couldn't double gang at that stun in time, and I end up dying just from the spill damage from all the AoE that they have. I have a buyback though, and the buyback ends up paying off because we end up killing most, if not all of them, afterwards. And just looking in terms of team fights, when you play PL, you kind of just want to focus in on one target and just use everything that you have. Because if you're trying to start splitting targets up or going on different targets with different illusions, it makes it a lot easier for the enemy team to realise who the real PL is. And not only that, but you just do a lot less damage. So in this case, I just kind of focused in on the Disruptor and went after him, and then just went on to the next target straight after. But kind of decent buyback after all. We end up saving our racks and winning out on the team fight. We try to catch the Jaro here, but he ends up getting away. But me kind of being a little bit of a Papago, I end up kind of being slow to get to this Jaro, but we end up still killing her in time, although we do lose the puck. But still, like, not the worst scenario, because we end up still defending high ground, even though it does set me back for my Manta even more. So, good kind of thing that you saw me do there as well. Like, the illusion rune on PL is like really critical, even though like Jaro was there, because they can spawn their own juxtapose illusions and they last longer than the Manta illusions you get as well. So if you ever see an illusion, always pick it up and go force a lane in with it. It just gives you more farm and puts more pressure on the map, because it's another thing the enemy team needs to deal with. So yeah, pretty much still similar kind of mindset towards this game. I mean, it's nice that they don't have Aegis anymore, so that is not big of a threat. So all we need to really do now is, when we take team fights, kind of team fight on the high ground where we have the advantage. Because I'm still not strong enough really to be useful in team fights, because I still die from all the spill damage. Tiny ends up dying outside of base, which is a bit of a problem. So I said I'll join the team fight when they push high ground and try and split push them to either force them to rotate or at least get something if they don't rotate. Patch it to hook on our TBM, and this is kind of the strength of PL. Like if they end up kind of diving, committing, and they're not in a position to kind of start clearing my illusions, they can kind of really build up and winning a very crucial team fight there, because I'm now about the same net worth as Drow after that. So I got my Manta now, and I thought after that fight maybe I could get away with going maybe Basher before BKB, but that was more, the only reason why this team fight went so well is because they dived so heavily and they committed so much on the enemy teams, so they had nothing else to deal with me when I TP'd him. So I end up just kind of realizing, like, if I get a BKB, I'm not going to die for those 10 seconds because I have no real physical presence outside of maybe Legion Duel, but he doesn't really have Blade Mail or anything, so even if he does duel me, I shouldn't be in that much of a disadvantage. So right now I'm kind of just waiting around because I can't really see exactly where they are on the map, but I want to be playing in this bottom part of the map, so I don't want to be tipping over for no reason. So I stay down here for like a few seconds, and sometimes that's okay. You know, you don't need to just immediately be farming something every single second of every single minute of the game. Just staying in the right part of the map, even if you have to wait for a few seconds, is more worthwhile than tipping to another part of the map you don't want to be in, because I don't want to give them an opportunity to group up without me trading something for their kind of mergence together. So again, playing a bit more safe, just kind of sending my Manta illusions over to push in, but once I see them all mid, I can end up pushing mid. There's no way I can be there at that fight, and I've told my team time and time again that whenever we fight, until I get BKB, we need to be fighting on the high ground, so they should not be getting caught out here. Again, I don't see them, so I'm just trying to play it safe really, because I don't want it to be dying. I don't have, I don't want to be buying back in the first place, but I don't think I'll have buyback anyway, because I bought back before. They start going in on the Warlock, and again I kind of still playing us safe because I don't want them to get TP'd behind. The moment I see them TPing from my illusions, I end up going top because I know that they can't deal with me top. So again, I immediately start pushing another lane just to make sure that they don't have a safe way of going high ground without getting punished if they do that. And again, just kind of this is whole tactic is me delaying the game, just slowing down the pace of the game as much as I can. Wasn't able to get the outpost before 30 minutes, but we had one bottom anyway, so it wasn't the biggest of deals. So right now is a slight problem because I've obviously TP top, and obviously it looks like they're getting gone on down bot. So there's no point me running all the way over, because if I do that, and my team's already dead by that point, then I have no other play other than sitting in the base and waiting. And so I end up sort of staying top. I see that Tro is pushing in here, so I try and force something out, and just kind of showing my dominance and aggression in the lane. And something like this is really important, particularly when you have your carry hero is stronger than the other carry hero, is boxing them out. Sometimes carry players are, too passive in trying to force the enemy hero out of the lane, because it's like 30 minutes and they don't know where the rest of the enemy team is. But if I don't do this, then Dro can push out this lane by herself, and then again it allows her team to then group up, because her lanes in her position are in a good position, so they can group up. Whereas me doing this keeps top him, and so more than just Dro has to respond to me. Again, I use Manta Illusions because they start disappearing off the map, so I don't want to be be alone up top by myself. But the moment they start grouping up, I can either decide to fight here or immediately go and start pushing top. But because the team fight's already kind of started and ended before I'm even there, I decide just to completely cut the losses and end up pushing top. Again, because my team are taking fights in positions they shouldn't be. So there's not much I can really do other than commit on top. And if they dive, obviously I'm keeping an eye on mid. If they dive, I can TP over. But I want to try and give them something to think about, always looking behind them. And immediately Dro TP's top, so I know that now I can TP back safely. I don't know if they have a wall up here, so I end up just trying to do the really safe play and BKB TPing, because I could have got glimpsed perhaps from the disruptor. So obviously I buy BKB, and now start walking towards my Abyssal Blade. So right now, if we want to, we can smoke as 5 and fight them. And that's kind of what I'm trying to tell my team to do right now. Because throughout this whole game, we've been taking team fights in kind of bad positions and without me as 5. And now, if we want to, we can fight, because I have at least the items I need to not just immediately dying in a team fight. They start pushing top though. I don't have a TP. Again, it's one of those scenarios that I can't just immediately run top, because I won't be there in time. So it's more kind of beneficial for me to sort of stay in this bottom half of the map. Just in case if they start grouping up top, I can start hitting bottom. But they kind of back off from pushing the tier 2, but start going into Roche instead. I don't think we have vision of them in Roche, even though it kind of looks like on the minimap. So they end up taking Aegis, and again, it's one of those things. Now they have Aegis, we want to be taking teamfights only on our high ground instead of in like random places on the map. So now the option of smoke ganking is kind of off the table. So I'm kind of just getting ready to sort of set up for the high ground defense, but instead Puck dies without buyback outside of the high ground, which is not good. So now we have to defend as 4, but we do have hook from Pudge, and me with my BKB, I end up being able to kind of get the Dro down first time from the Legion, and now like it's getting to the point in the game now that they're really struggling in dealing with me, and there's not much else to say. Then it's just PL being strong enough now that with me having BKB, they can't deal with me. So we end up killing Dro, the Aegis is gone, and they use cheese as well from the gyro. So this is my second kind of big mistake, really, because I commit. So what ends up happening here, like I kind of think, oh, they don't have buyback, like we can end up, and I end up forcing this high ground push a lot harder than I needed to. And I also think I end up buying parts of my Abyssal Blade here, which then forces me not to have buyback. I think this is it, or it might be a different point of the game. Yeah, no, this is it here, because I kind of try and tell my team to get back. What actually happens here? Okay, no, so we end up backing off from this push. There's another push actually that ends up being a lot worse. But that's fine. So we want to obviously defend on high ground, kind of hit top a little bit, and Tiny wasn't getting punished because he had BKB. So right now, again, we could have been in a position where we could have fighted as 5 because they didn't have Aegis and I have the items I need. But again, because someone ends up dying by themselves, that play of smoking as 5 and grouping up is kind of taken off the table. So again, I'm kind of forced back to doing lane shenanigans over here. Again, Tiny dies as well, so it's kind of like all they need to do, because I'm kind of split pushing and playing away from them, all they need to be doing is staying as 4 and not getting picked off, because the enemy team is grouped up as 5. So what I want them to do is to stay as 4, not die, wait for the enemy team to respond to my push. So say like, I know, Dro or Legion TP's in, I can then TP back, and then we can fight as 5 versus their 4 because Dro's TP top, for example. Instead, they end up getting picked off, and I'm forced to do shenanigans like this again, top. I go on the Jakiro, try and get a forced out TP from someone else, but I wasn't able to kill the Jakiro, and with Puck buying back and Jakiro top, at least the fight's going to be a 4-on-4 engagement, so I decided to sort of TP back and try and fight. Immediate TP, unfortunately there's no full op really from the Puck or from on the Warlock. Luckily I know I have Bash, and I get lucky on the Bash on Drow Ranger, and we end up killing her. And it's enough to win the team fight. And even with the Disruptor ulti, they have nothing to deal with what we have in this engagement. So it's this push that ends up going bad, because I end up buying parts of the Abyssal Blade without checking that I didn't have enough money to buy the item, as well as having buyback. So just keep in mind, whenever you're pushing high ground, and you know the enemy team has buyback, we know the enemy team has buyback because they haven't used it in the last 15 to 20 minutes. Always making sure to have a buyback yourself, because there's nothing more obvious or more predictable where if they buy back and kill you and you don't have buyback, then they can end up just pushing your throne and losing the game, because it's now the time of the game where there's enough damage on the enemy team as well as our team that if there's heroes without buyback, we end up committing. So instead of me kind of respecting the double buyback from both Disruptor and Legion, I end up kind of staying with kind of half HP. This is the time I could have kind of backed off now. Instead, I end up getting caught out. Joro ends up buying back. I end up staying, trying to commit to the fight. And because I was on low HP already, the Jaro ulti damage was enough to end up killing me, as well as my illusions. And because I didn't have, because I ended up buying the Abyssal Blade, I don't have buyback. I'm about 300 gold short. So this was right now like really scary, because I thought I'd just thrown the game. And so a really bad mistake for myself. Whereas really I didn't really need the Abyssal Blade to do that. Whereas I could have just had the best shot and had buyback without the Abyssal. But Pudge ends up kind of cutting the wave here, which is really good, which delays them pushing our high ground. Though we have quite a good defense as well. All their creeps are dead. There was quite a lot of spam. We end up losing the melee racks, but for the most part, because they don't have any creeps, because top and bot are pushed out while Legion tries to kill the Pudge, it ends up delaying a lot. Obviously, Dro ends up CPing out, and we still end up killing the Jakiro as well. So my team ends up really carrying me in that position there. So really good from them, because I was dead for about 2 minutes without buyback. Because of what they did, it was enough for me to come back naturally without buyback. So really nice from them, and a really bad decision from myself to buy out an item when I didn't have buyback. So just quickly in terms of talents, level 20 I think is kind of pretty stock standard as well, to be honest. The 500 Phantom Rush is just so good, particularly on heroes that you want to kind of keep on top of, like Dro. The 500 range on that is just really, really nice. As for the level 25 talent on PL, this one's a lot more kind of controversial in some ways. The minus 66 second doppelganger CD is so good, because if you can get it, like there's almost no way that they can kill you, because the cooldown is like 4 seconds then with doppelganger, plus the kind of half a second here and there of kind of when the spell is used. So it's kind of makes you invulnerable, particularly if you have a heart or other kind of defensive item, because they can't clear your illusions in time. However, in this game, I decided that really it wasn't me surviving that was going to win the team fights, because we were kind of lacking damage in some aspects. Obviously, Puck does quite a bit of damage, obviously with Desolator and Daedalus, but when they have items like Ags and BKB and SMY, like I just felt the need to have the critical strike on my illusions. And that I needed that. I needed to kind of burst them and kill them down. So I ended up going for that, and I ended up having kind of a good game as well. That getting level 30 isn't so far behind. So we end up thinking that they was going to take Roche, but with Puck, Alicia Orb, we know that they're not doing that. But I'm still going to try and push in bot, so that they kind of have to deal with it. But I end up kind of joining my team, because I didn't know really where they were. So I thought I'd just let my illusions push out instead. But this is where we kind of wanted to just smoke as 5, because we were kind of knew that as long as we had like an okay engagement and we were as 5, we could beat them in any kind of engagement. And it's kind of just what happened, really. We walked into them, and because we were been winning every single team fight, I go straight onto the Disruptor, so he didn't have a chance to use ulti, and Dro and Disruptor die without having buyback, and we end up kind of catching the Jakiro as well. But you know, Dro and Disruptor without having buyback just allowed us to then just go ahead and walk down the lanes, and it's simple as that, really. And it's sometimes, you know, late game Dota is sometimes a little bit confusing. But if you just kind of take it step by step, it's kind of pretty simple. The one kind of thing that had a chance of me kind of losing the game was me pushing up the high ground and dying without buyback. But when you get to this kind of stage of the game, where PL, I mean, they have some kind of counters in terms of they have a lot of AoE damage, but they don't have any real hard counters. When the game gets this late, this hero is so strong, and as long as you have like decent farm throughout this kind of stage of the game is almost played when you get to this stage, late stage of the game. And that was it, really, guys. So it wasn't like you know, a fantastic game from myself, and you know, it wasn't anything really extraordinary, but I just wanted to have a quick video because I'm going back to uni next week, and I wanted to have like an extra video sort of sent out and posted, because there'll probably be a little bit of a drought because I'm going back to uni. I hope you liked it, guys. Obviously, if you did like it, please like and subscribe, and tell me down in the comments below on the next hero you'd like to see. Other than that, guys, peace out.
We have strength in numbers. What did you have?